for the Cowboys, they've only played 2 over 500 teams this year.
Name one.
Philadelphia.
Good job.
Almost won. Had the ball on the 6-yard line with a chance to win.
Name another.
San Francisco.
They were tied when the game started.
That's a good point. That is. After that, it didn't go well.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
But those are the only 2 over 500 teams
They were 60
played.
minutes away from a tie.
Man, in this scenario, we don't even get a win.
No.
We're just getting a tie.
Not in that game.
And I know someone is going to text and be like, technically it would be 70 minutes from a tie.
Okay.
So that's it. You've only played those 2 teams and you lost both games. You look at the schedule going forward. Seattle, Philly, Buffalo, Miami, Detroit. We'll leave out Washington for now. 38-18 is the overall record of those 5 teams. And all of them are at least 500. Buffalo's the only team that's only 500. All the rest of them are over 500. And so what I'm curious about is, here you are. I know we joked about Jerry Jones saying the meat of the schedule, but this feels like the actual meat of the schedule, regardless of how many games are left, because this is where you find out. Like, is this team really a team that matters? Is Dak Prescott an MVP contender? Like, these are the 5 weeks that I feel like will determine the answers to both of those, or get you down the path of those answers. Yes?
Mm-hmm. I believe so.
Okay. Do you think that they are ready then? And if so, why? If not, why?
I do, and I'm going to touch on this a little more in the 1 o'clock, Kevin, but I think it's because their offensive line has looked as good as it's been. Now, granted, this is also, a stretch of the worst teams they played so far.
For sure.
But go enjoy if you can, watching Tyron Smith and Josh Allen go at it last week. That was a pleasure to get to watch Tyron Smith play at this level still again. And I don't know if it's one of those where, hey, he can have a good game, because he's done it consistently for a few games now. And again, the opponent, you got to measure the opponent in this situation. Can he do the same thing? Watching Tony Pollard as a pass blocker and his pass protection is as good as I've seen Tony Pollard be. I think Bobby the other day was saying that he's turned into an elite pass blocker, whereas there were times before where you were like, I don't even want that dude in on those situations. So seeing at the way he's chipped, seeing the way the offensive line has grown this season, they are better than they've been all year long. So I do think, Kevin, because if you look at the approach to this team and the time, just look at the time that Jalen Hurts had to make that last play that he made the other day. The reason was he had space. He had the presence of mind to do it, but he had the space to do it. Dak Prescott gets more time, more space. He's going to be a better quarterback. So that's the thing. I already know what I'm getting from the defense. But the offensive line being better than it was earlier, that's the thing that makes me feel like they can go through this next stretch here, which is a gauntlet. It really is.
For sure.
But those teams have their things that they're dealing with too. You're going to be dealing with Buffalo coming off of a bye week. You're going to have so they'll have plenty of time to prepare for you. You have to go to Miami, and that's tough too to go play there. So there are lots of things, but if the Cowboys' offensive line is real, like I'm seeing over the last few games, then that gives me hope that this team's offense can match its defense.
They're ready. They're as healthy as can be. Yes, there is no Diggs, there is no Van Der Esch.
But they ain't coming back.
Right, they've dealt with that. They're trying to even deal with Van Der Esch a little bit more if they can sign the Shaq of the Mac.
Yep.
Because he's from that same area, right? Who's the Shaq? Was that Gary Trent? Is the Shaq of the Mac Gary Trent?
I don't remember. I mean, I know that reference. So
anyways, I think they're ready. They're playing great offensive football. The best they've played all year. According to Bobby Belt, it's because Dak went into Coach McCarthy and said, your offense is a load of crap. We're going back to Kellen Moore's system, and I'm calling all the plays. McCarthy said, okay. Their defense is playing solid. I think they're ready for this. I think they're going to come. I said the other day it would be 10-1 odds, so I wouldn't really want to bet on this, but I could see them realistically only losing one of these games.
Okay.
Same.
Okay. Let me ask you guys real quick then. I'm really glad that you said that because I was going to segue into the next thing I was curious about. So they go 4-1. Who do you have? I know you just said you take the whole stretch 4-1. Who would you have the one loss against? And that would have you feeling what about the Cowboys? Because then the Cowboys would then be 12-4.
Corey and I are going to pick the same team.
It's not the Eagles.
Let's see who he picks. No, we're at home.
I think the one team for me might be Miami. That's the one. That's the one I'm kind of nervous about, and that would set them up to go after Detroit really well. Like that. Okay, they lost that. Now let's go take them down,
which is a home game as well.
But an uncommon opponent on the road. That's something that Mike McCarthy seems to struggle with. Is uncommon opponents on the road. And so that would be the one that I'm really nervous about.
I was worried about Detroit till I watched them play on Thanksgiving.
Dak is going to be able to take advantage of their secondary. That's their biggest problem. That's a real thing, and you're probably going to get great opportunities based on what you saw against Green Bay on Thanksgiving to force the ball out of Jared Goff's hand with your pass rush, because their pass protection looked miserable against Green Bay, and your pass rush is a lot better than theirs. So I'm not as concerned. It's just Mike McDaniels can draw up some game plans that you're like, whoa, that was a lot of fun to watch. And that's going to be a track meet if they really want to make it that way.
I can't wait to see that game too, because the Dolphins suffer through the same thing that the Cowboys do. Is they have a really good record, but not a good record against teams with a good record.
The one thing too that they're really good at is their run game. He can create yards with their run game no matter what.
I'm just looking at Mostert is averaging 5.2 yards a carry, so 785 yards on the season, 13 touchdowns. Those are the teams that scare me, and I thought that Detroit would in a way that they could bully us. But I watched Detroit on Thanksgiving. They were not bullying Green Bay at all. It was really ugly. So I'd look at the Detroit game as a much more favorable matchup for Dallas than I did a couple weeks ago.
Okay, so let's say it is Miami then, your uncommon opponent. You're 12-4, and you just beat the Seahawks, the Eagles, and the Lions. So you want to take Seahawks out. But you beat the Eagles and the Lions. You beat two of the other top three teams in the NFC, taking yourself into account as well. Then the Cowboys are 12-4. How do you feel about this team?
I feel fantastic.
Even though they're the 5, probably?
Yeah, I mean, I'm buying in on Broadus, man. I'm buying in on what Broadus is saying. Just don't lose the 5. You don't want to go. You don't want to have to go.
Who's the 6th seed that can even compete with the Cowboys? If the Cowboys win 2 more games and they get to 10-7, I don't know what team is going to get to 10-7 or 11-6 in the wild card situation.
Especially if you beat Seattle, because that's who it would be.
Yeah, so
I
hear what Brian's saying. I agree with Brian, because at this point, getting the 1 or 2 seed is probably unlikely. What Philadelphia has just done the last 2 weeks. But I hear Brian. I just wonder, who is he scared about coming up and winning 11 or 12 games in the wild card situation?
Is it going on the road to like San Francisco is what he was saying?
Well, I mean, you're going to have to. I mean, if you're the 5 seed, you're going to get the sorry South, and then you're going to kill them by 15 to 30 points. And then you're going to have to most likely go to Philadelphia or San Francisco.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then most likely you would go to whichever team you didn't play. You're going to play them in the NFC Championship game if you make it that far.
I think I'm with you guys, because at 12-4, and we're assuming a Dolphins loss, I think I would feel pretty darn good about this team, because then I'm like, well, in the last month,
and you'll probably be 12-5 because you would sit out the last game.
Yeah, and even then, the Commanders might be like, ho, you just watch and see what we can do.
But we did it last year, and they killed us. It's right, didn't they? Wasn't that a beatdown?
And was that the first Sam Howell game?
Yeah, and wasn't that like, oh my gosh? And it's like, I thought to Washington fans, we're not trying.
Yeah,
I mean, I get he's having a good game. I can't deny that, but the Cowboys aren't trying to win this game.
And go ahead. From the 817, multiple people actually, the Lions are going to run it down the Cowboys' throat. The only problem with the Lions is they're going to try and run it all over you, just like Miami will. And I think that is the one thing where I say the Cowboys in that specific game, I think it's going to be a home game again. The factor is Cowboys are going to do what they can to get out in front and make you chase them. And once you start trying to chase the Cowboys, that's when they're at their best with their pass rush, and you get away from your run. I think they'll allow you to run. I think they're going to be like, no, that's fine. You can do that. But, man, once you get in these pass situations, we're sending.
I think the tough thing about this is that Lions game might not mean anything to the Cowboys, too. And so I do think they'll play that game out. I don't think they're going to sit out the last 2 games of the year. But let's just say they beat Seattle. They beat Philadelphia. They beat Buffalo. And then they lose to the Dolphins. Your fate is sealed. You're the 5 seed.
Sure.
There's nothing you can do. The Lions obviously would be playing for seeding of probably 2 and 3. I don't know. Maybe not. But I think that could be a weird game for the Cowboys, is that they're going into the week hearing us talk here on 105.3 The Fan, hearing the questions being asked in the media, in the locker room, going, hey, you guys have nothing to play for. You pretty much losing that game. Let's just say it happens. You win 3 of the next 4, but that locks your fate into the 5 seed. They would be hearing all week long that these last 2 games don't mean anything.
And
then they'll fake answer the question going, they mean a lot.
Hold on. If you're 5, though, are you playing Atlanta?
Yeah.
On the road? I'll take that.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take that any day.
It'll be just like last year.
Yeah.
That's what I think
you're pretty much going to get the
beat up on
same
a South
situation.
team.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want that opportunity. I would
you'd
rather
like to be
have
the
that.
1 seed.
I mean, of course, I'd like to be the 1 seed. Got to figure out how to get the Eagles to finish.
The problem is it's like you're either going to be the 1 seed or the 5 seed.
Yes.
There's no other place you're going to be in this bracket.
And there are a lot of people who are worried about going up to Buffalo. I maintain the same opinion. If you go 4-1 and your loss is to either Buffalo or Miami, I think you're still feeling
you don't want
pretty
both of
stoked
those.
No.
You don't want both of those being losses.
I could see them losing at Buffalo. I could see that
because
happening.
Buffalo's going to have a bye week to prepare, 2 weeks to prepare
really?
for the Cowboys, and on top of that, and I know the Cowboys get a few
Are
extra
the
days.
Eagles getting a bye week to prepare?
Yeah, but they're playing
for?
Thursday night. By the way, I just wanted to point that out.
Yes,
I think
am
the Ravens
aware.
have a bye
Thank
week
you.
this week too. But so and I think the Giants as well. But if they have a chance to take a breath from all the chaos of firing their offensive coordinator, Josh Allen, a chance to sit down and say, okay, dude, this is our approach from here on, and we need you to stop playing like everything's going to end on every throw. I really do think that that's going to be a big factor for Buffalo.